All right, let's get started with the Public Square. Pretty exciting day around here. You know, I get books in the mail almost every day, but you got a book in the mail this morning, Dave, that blew you away, didn't it?
Moments ago, 15 years of consideration, research, collaboration, writing, production, and the new book, An Oration, John Quincy Adams Christian America, arrived on my front step.
That is a good-looking book.
Just a few moments ago. Yeah, and first thing I have to say is the book in its artistic design is masterful. And that's all because of someone sitting at our table today named Anna Welch. This is, I think, her fourth, if I'm not mistaken, fourth book project that she's done with us. And this one takes the cake, Wayne. It's absolutely beautiful.
All right. Well, let me introduce everybody, and then we'll talk about this great-looking and great content book that is just coming out that we're going to have a lot more to say about. I'm Wayne Shepard here with Dave Zanotti, Rob Walgate at the table, Melanie Elsey, Jeff Sanders, Alan C. Duncan, and Anna Welch, the aforementioned Anna. Welcome, Anna, to the table today.
Thanks, Wayne. Glad to be here.
Boy, this book does look terrific. I can't wait to actually read the content.
Anna, what do you call the interior pictures? These
The end pages.
The end pages. Mm-hmm. Wayne, the end pages of this book are a classic drawing. I don't know whether this would have been in charcoal or pencil or what it would have been in the historic version, but it's the birthplaces of John and John Quincy Adams by Eliza Susan Quincy from 1822. And it's absolutely gorgeous. The end pages. When you look at the front cover, you have red, white, and inside the taping is green. It's a secret Christmas message.
I was wondering if you did that on purpose, and I figured you probably did.
Yeah, Alan, what do you think? You think Anna did that with a design in mind?
Well, I said I was going to share on air. I have one problem with this book, okay? I have to share it before God and all these witnesses. I have one problem with this book, and it's that it's so beautiful that I don't want to write in it. And I like writing in books.
Yes.
So, Anna, I blame you. Why did you do that to me?
This book is so
Guess that's
beautiful.
a good problem to have.
Yeah.
It should be framed.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about like a coffee table book. This is the epitome of that, but it needs to be read and studied and not just looked at.
So you might need to get 2 copies of the book. I think that's the solve. You get 2. One to keep nice and then one to beat up and throw in your bag and write in. So you got to get 2.
I like that.
All right, let's back up, everybody. We're talking about the just-released book, John Quincy Adams Christian America, and it was put together by the team here at the Public Square called An Oration. And we've just received our copies, and we're so excited about it, you can understand why. And the commentary in it is by Dr. W.B. Allen and, of course, our own Dave Zanotti. So that makes it extra special too, Dave.
This is an amazing project, Wayne, because it really represents what happened when we discovered a quote by John Quincy Adams 15 years ago when we were doing the very first episode of Christmas in America. And we were so impressed by the quote that we put it in the program of the very first episode of Christmas in America. And then I kept that quote around, and I kept thinking to myself, I've got to get around to finding the sourcing of that specifically. And that wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. And I found this in a speech that John Quincy Adams made in 1837 to some friends of his in a town that he spent time in as a young law student, Newburyport, Massachusetts. And he was invited to deliver an oration. And it was not uncommon for legendary figures like John Quincy Adams to be invited around the country on the 4th of July to give an opinion on the Declaration of Independence, given the circumstances of the year in which they were invited and how are we doing as a country. So sort of like a checkup. So this particular speech then caught my attention, and I read the speech, and I was just astounded by the speech, and I started to write about the speech. And I got a little farther down the road, and I contacted Dr. Allen because he's kind of the go-to, the super scholar and political philosopher and member of our board of trustees. And I said, okay, this is where I'm at so far on this, and I've got a feeling there's a lot more to go on this process. And he took a look at the speech, and we began to dialogue. And that dialogue turned into a way of how could we bring this presentation to a place where we could actually lay out in what we call retailers' terms. Now, this is a beautiful book. This book looks like it should cost you $100. I mean, It is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And it's something to make you, it's clear that the people who put this book together are proud of American history. Mm-hmm. And there's something to offer. But almost all the words in this book are John Quincy Adams. It's the speech. We said, let's do this. Let's print the speech so people won't have to search for it like we did. Then what do you say if we build a commentary, present the speech a second time with our commentary side by side to help interpret it? And I said, Doc, that's a great idea. What we want to do is we want to put this in a level, however, that you can get it if you're a shopper in the basement of a JCPenney's discount section. I mean, we need to intellectually put this to the level where anybody can read it and get it. And that's not condescending. That's kind of where we live.
Right.
Melody calls it putting the cookies on the lowest shelf. I say shopping in the basement of JCPenney. You say, well, what do you know about that? When I was a kid, if we got to go shopping at all, that's where we went, the basement of JCPenney, where everything was like on clearance. And I'd always say to my dad, why can't we go up here? Why can't we go over there? This is where we're shopping today, son, or else we're going home. Okay, Pop. All right. And so that's where it was. And so this book is written so that junior high school teachers could use it, and college master's professors, postgraduate could use it. This could be in the library at Mount Vernon or Princeton or Harvard, or it could be on the shelf of any person anywhere in America. And they could delve into our shared history from a first-person original source document. And they could learn about this man, John Quincy Adams, whose story in and of itself, after George Washington, is, in my opinion, the most amazing story in American history.
You know what I was thinking? This speech that he gave in 1837 was only 11 years after his father died.
Yeah.
That brings a little historical timeline to my mind.
It truly does. It puts things in context, and there's so much about his life, the context of his life, that is completely unknown. It's not forgotten, it's unknown. I mean, it's been so long forgotten that it's now unknown. And it enabled us to go back and to rediscover his life. And the deeper that you dig, the better it gets. I will tell you, we have vetted this man. Okay? And we're talking about going back to when he was 9 years old, starting with his diaries. And he kept a diary almost every day of his life until he died. And so we have studied hundreds, thousands of entries in his diary. And the list of books that we've used just as a symbol for radio, I would say about 18 inches high minimum would be the reading that we've done, corollary reading around his life to fact check. And that doesn't include the internet research from the fantastic historical sites that are all across the state of Massachusetts, because people are so proud of the Adams family.
You've already spoken to a little bit. I would like you to say exactly why the American Policy Roundtable has published this book.
I am so impressed by John Quincy Adams' career, his integrity, and his service, lifelong service. There is no one who knows the American founding better than John Quincy Adams. No one. He witnessed the Declaration being worked on his father's desk in his own home. He was there at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He went overseas with his dad when his dad was overseas during the War for Independence at the call of the Continental Congress. He went to Harvard, became a lawyer, came back and worked in the administration of George Washington. He was a senator. He was everything. He was a state representative. He was a senator. He was did I mention he was a president of the United States, the sixth president of the United States, and then spent 17 years in the United States Congress. His life spans the life of George Washington, and he served in Congress with Abraham Lincoln. His life touched the lives of 16 American presidents, and he's the founding son. He is the best eyewitness that we have of what they intended America to be.
We might want to pay attention to this guy, huh?
Yeah, I think he's the most qualified source. And That's why his story is so fascinating, and his take on America right now is, I think, the most important take in the country.
Well, Anna, you had a big hand, as Davis said, in the creation of this book. What are some of your thoughts about it now that you actually hold it in your hands?
I'm relieved. Can I say that? When you finally go from an idea to an actual product, it's such a process. So, and there's lots of things that can get messed up or delayed or not go right. So I'm very relieved to see this sitting in everyone's hands, and now our listeners will have access to this beautiful work that Dave and Dr. Allen commented on. It's really exciting.
All right, well, we're going to talk about it here, and we're going to talk about Christmas in America. Actually, the two things come together. We'll explain what that's all about coming up on this edition of The Public Square. You stay with us now. Let's continue on the Public Square today. We're all excited around here to have just received our copies of An Oration, John Quincy Adams Christian America. Just a beautiful book that is so filled with great thoughts and his thinking about America. And our listeners are going to get a chance to get a copy of this for themselves. But Alan, let's continue to quiz Anna about this whole project.
Yes. I've been wanting to have this conversation on air since I got the book, essentially. One of the first things that people, when they get a copy of this book, will notice is just the beautiful artwork that's throughout. Historical pictures, whether they're murals or photographs or paintings or etchings or drawings, they're all sprinkled throughout this book. Anna, can you just talk to us a little bit about the sourcing of those images? Where did you find some of these pictures? Or were there any cool stories of places you had to look to find them? Help us understand that process.
Yes. So the Library of Congress was a big one that I found a lot of the paintings or portraits from. And I kind of modeled this book off of another book that I got a few Christmas in Americas ago to do research myself. And it was an annotated version of The Christmas Carol. So we did Charles Dickens 2 years ago for Christmas in America. And they had a really cool version where they had commentary running throughout, and then also all these neat pictures and sketch work of The Christmas Carol. And so that was kind of my model for the book. And the imagery is to help the reader really place themselves back into the colonial era and War of 1812 era, and just to kind of get your mind into what did life look like for John Quincy Adams. What did he look like? There's a few pictures in here that we found through the Library of Congress that I had a designer restore.
Yes, I saw those. Those looked amazing.
That was really fun. The cover image, that was colorized and restored. And then there's John Quincy Adams had the first daguerreography. You have to help me.
Daguerreotype.
Yes. Daguerreotype. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I need the resident
it's an
historian.
early form of photography.
Is there a reason that she looked to Jeff and not me to pronounce that correctly? I don't know. Should I be offended, DZ?
I actually have some daguerreotypes of my own.
Yes, of himself.
From passed down in my family.
So John Quincy Adams, I believe, was the first president to get one of those.
Yeah, one of those, along with Andrew Jackson.
Photograph.
Exactly. They lived in about the same time period.
And Anna, may I add that John Quincy Adams had the most spectacular sideburns that became a beard. I mean, this man was, he's got the look, right?
I would say the most piercing gaze.
Yeah.
You look at the photograph in there that was colorized, it looks not only like he's about to speak, but he's like he's looking into my soul.
That's what I was going to say. I'm looking at the daguerreotype of John Quincy Adams sitting in what looks like a living room, and it's the page immediately across from where we start the print of the actual speech, and it is so piercing. His eyes, it's just like he's alive.
He's reading your mind.
Yeah.
Like he's
Isn't
there.
that
We're
cool?
communicating. He
does have a very
cool.
intense look.
Yeah.
He does.
He does. And that was this is one of the restored. He colorized it, restored it. And
Because
to
it was
see,
a photograph taken in 1843.
Yes. And I note that. And so the reader knows this was restored. But it is so, he took it to be so lifelike. I mean, it's amazing.
You know, the people who are listening to this, you don't get it until you're holding this book in your hand. I'm not kidding. I saw it for the very first time just a couple of hours ago. And the color coming off the page is just vibrating. It is pulsating.
It's the most beautiful book I think I've ever seen.
I would say so.
Ever.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it smells good. Those of you who like to smell your
hot
I
off
was
the
going to
press.
ask Alan, all right, how many times has Alan sniffed it now? Since he got in the studio?
112. I'm like looking over at him like, what are you doing, bro? I mean, I feel like he's sitting in a new car and just taking deep breaths. That's what I feel like.
So, Wayne, let me play a critic here for a second. Listen to all these goofy people talking about a
They're
book
gushing, aren't they?
on the
Yeah.
radio in the digital age in which no one reads books anymore. What is wrong with these people? All right. What is wrong? Listen to them. They're in love with this thing. Of course, now I can hear many of our dear friends on the radio throwing things at the radio right now, shouting out loud, because people do still read books. And this is a particular instance and an experience where having this particular book is much easier than doing an internet search. Because we actually secured the original documents to the degree necessary. All right, I do not have John Quincy's actual notes, but we have the internet archives of the actual piece that was presented and printed in 1837. We have actually, looked through all of those documents as well. It's a beautiful thing because John Quincy Adams' life is largely digitized now. His documentation is digitized. So we've already been through all that. Now, instead of you having to type endlessly, search endlessly, you've got it in one spot. And you can read the story and you can put it in order. You start with the chronology of his life and understand about his family and his marriage and his children and his career. And you put this guy in context. And I'll tell you what happens. The more you learn, the closer he comes to today. The more you realize that the things he was thinking in 1837 in Newburyport are things we're talking about right now.
Wow.
Now you have an eyewitness from America's founding son, and he adds perspective. And it's a perspective, Wayne, that has overtaken me from the first time I found the first quote that he raised. In fact, let me take just a second and read that quote that got me in the very beginning. He asked the question when he started this speech. He said, "Why is it that next to the birthday of the Savior of the world, your most joyous and most venerated festival returns to this day, the 4th of July? And why is it that among the swarming myriads of our population, thousands and tens of thousands among us, abstaining under the dictate of religious principle from the commemoration of that birthday of him who brought life and immortality to light, yet unite with all their brethren in this community year after year in celebrating this, the birthday of the nation?" Now, let me explain that. John Quincy Adams came from a pilgrim background. These are Puritans. These are the people up in Massachusetts. They didn't party on December 25th. They didn't like people getting drunk because they knew that you could lose your life as an alcoholic in the colonial era. And it happened all the time, and it happened inside the Adams family. These were not partying folks. They didn't like that stuff. And they also didn't want to be associated with the Roman Church, which is what they would have called it, because of the residue of the religious wars that happened coming out of the 15 and 1600s back and forth across Europe. They wanted to be very, very careful as to how they made their faith known. So it wasn't that they didn't love the Christmas and that they didn't love Jesus and they didn't love the baby Jesus. It's just that they were not going to get worked into what they considered to be a rather reckless holiday. He said, in spite of all that, why is it that these 2 days are so closely associated? And then he asked this question, is it not that in the chain of human events, the birthday of the nation is indissolubly linked with the birthday of the Savior? That it forms a leading event in the progress of the gospel dispensation? Is it not that the Declaration of Independence first organizes the social compact on the foundation of the Redeemer's mission upon earth? What? This is the single most qualified public servant of the colonial era, of the founding, saying that when his dad and his relatives and those 56 signers of the Declaration put that document together, they were laying their hopes for their government on the shoulders of the person of Jesus Christ. That's what he's saying.
And that's in the first 2 minutes of the speech.
Didn't bury the lead.
Right.
He came right out and said, this is what we're going to talk about. Then for the next 90 minutes, he did.
That isn't the line that's used in history classes throughout the country.
Nobody even talks about John Quincy Adams in history classes.
You didn't get this speech in your class?
Can we get this book to teachers? I think that would be a big question.
Let's do it.
Well, my hope, Alan, is given the intensity of the Atlantic and wanting to get their magazine on the unfinished revolution into the hands of every AP history teacher in America, my hope and prayer is that we can raise enough funds to give a copy of this book to every AP history teacher and every college professor that wants a copy for free. That would be my prayer.
Can we send a copy to the Atlantic also?
I want
the
to,
editor.
We should advertise this book in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Let's take out a full page ad.
Absolutely.
Now that's a thought. Wayne, you better take us to break before we spend any more money.
Everybody's got their wheels a spinning here today. That's great. It's great. Now, this is a wonderful brand new book, but you can get a copy and we'll explain how, and we'll talk about the upcoming Christmas in America, which I think JQA would have participated in Christmas in America. What do you all think?
Well, we would have cleared the stage for him.
Yeah, right. Okay. Can't do that, but we can do the next best thing. So stay with us. We'll talk about that and more on the Public Square.
Spreading the light of liberty across the land. Now back to the Public Square.
Brand new book, An Oration by John Quincy Adams, commentary by Dr. William B. Allen, our great friend, and our great friend, Dr. David Zanotti here of the Public Square. It's hot off the presses, as they say, and let's spill the details here, guys. What do you think?
You can get a copy of the book by visiting thepublicsquare.com. Click on shop and up will pop book selection, and right there is An Oration.
I'm so glad this is coming out now because this to me would be a great Christmas gift for any teacher, any student, anyone interested in history. I think this would be a perfect gift.
And the speech makes a great discussion item. Like we were talking about previously, is it gives you the opportunity to educate yourself a little bit on things we may have missed in history class. But even as those friendly conversations are happening around the table on Christmas or beforehand, you get the opportunity to chime in and said, well, I learned something, and here's what I learned.
Well, and it's interesting. You can use the book in different ways. You can read the whole speech. There's even a page that says how to best use this book in there. So you can read the whole speech, or you can flip around and just look at the pictures for the first time you use it. You can look at the timeline of the life of John Quincy Adams. There's a timeline in there. There's an essay that Dr. Allen has written towards the end of the book. Then you kind of have this, you have the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, where they kind of pair really nicely. There's a little section in the back of the book about that. So there are a lot of different little things in here. There's the Declaration itself is in here. So you can just flip around and just have a good time even before you sit down to read a 90-minute speech.
What I love about this book is it's a primary source document within this book. And there's several primary sources, like you said, the Declaration of Independence. And you're hearing from John Quincy Adams in his own words, how he delivered that speech that day on July 4th, 1837. And then you're having amazing commentators walking you through it. It's in depth, it's meaty, and then you have that guide to walk you through some of the more difficult, challenging parts of the speech. Because John Quincy Adams was a very intelligent man. He was a thinker. It's deep. It'll make you think. And like you said, Wayne, it's a great, great gift for historians, somebody who loves history, someone who loves America.
Yeah, somebody to think about for graduates as well. If you know somebody who's graduating high school or coming up, that would be. Would be a great gift for
Would
them.
this fit in a stocking for Christmas time?
You're going to have to wrap this. You got to wrap this.
No, this one needs to be wrapped. Okay.
But it wraps very well. Wayne, I'm just holding the book in my hands again, and it's funny because 15 years of considering this project and then some very intensive writing periods over particularly the last year. And I can open any page and start to read, and it's refreshing. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning something. John Quincy Adams was a brilliant communicator. People don't know this. He was a professor at Harvard University. He graduated from Harvard, then went on to study law. Back then, you didn't have to go to law school. You would study law under a lawyer, and he did so under a judge. Theophilus Parsons in Newburyport. That's where his connection. He spent 3 years in the study of law. Parsons went on to become the Supreme Court Chief Justice in Massachusetts. They have a little different name from their corpus equivalent thereof. And when you stop and you just open this book and you begin to read, this man is an excellent communicator. He was a professor of rhetoric at Harvard.
He knew about 6 languages, either fluently or well. He could read Latin and Greek fluently. He spoke fluently French, Italian, and Dutch, and he was pretty good in Russian.
The only president to speak Russian.
Yeah.
The only president who spoke Russian was John Quincy Adams. Yeah.
Think of the home he came from, the home of John and Abigail Adams.
Can you imagine? Well, just like what happens when you turn off the internet and the television set and other things. We're not going to turn off the radio. I mean, if they could have, they would have had a radio. All right. But when they came home at night, they talked to each other. Then they studied. Then they talked to God. Then they went to bed. And they got up the next day and went to work. I mean, it was their lives were different. They were on the ground. To say that these folks were ground. I mean, the productivity of that generation could not have been accomplished with the distractions that we have today.
Right on.
They were so, and she would say, well, but life was so much better for us. Because, I mean, these folks still had to work their own farm. The Adams family were not wealthy. They were not wealthy people. And by the way, for those who are waiting to kind of bring up the S word, the Adams family never held anyone as a slave. Never. They had no one in that position. And by the time we get to 1790, which is 1 year after the United States government goes into full effect, Massachusetts has banned slavery in totality. See, people have forgotten that there was a non-slave holding wing of the American founding, and it was a dominant wing in regards to intellectual and public service.
And to put it in perspective, after he entered Congress, from the presidency, he was the only president in history that went back to become a member of Congress for that very purpose of working toward the abolition of slavery.
I'd like to add that also that same non-slave holding wing of our founding, within just less than 11 years of the founding of our country, passed the Northwest Ordinance, which banned slavery forever. Many of the same people who signed the Declaration and later wrote the Constitution said we will ban slavery forever in the states that are now Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They were on track to eliminating it throughout the rest of the country. They just didn't know exactly how long it was going to take.
Which would have been an amazing historic achievement at that space and time. That is, if you talk about a revolutionary idea. And I would say you also, if you want a discussion of slavery, this book, An Oration, does not shy away from that discussion. Indeed, it leads into it. So you might want to look at the epilogue as they talk about what happened with La Amistad and John Quincy Adams' help to those people.
For people who are listening who believe that their own education with regard to the history of our country was substandard, this is a great place to start.
Amen.
Because you have a 70-year-old giving a speech who was at the founding as a child, witnessed all of these. I mean, his hindsight and his foresight both come together in this speech. And it's a great jumping off tool to re-educate or maybe lay a foundation to educate yourself. If you don't believe you ever were given that foundation, this is a great place to start.
Melanie, I think that after quite a number of years of reflection, I think John Quincy Adams understood very clearly when he went into that podium that day on July 4th in Newburyport. I think he understood how close we were to civil war. Mm-hmm. I think he understood that if we did not eliminate slavery, that we could not remain one nation. That the only way was to get rid of slavery. Mm-hmm. It was the only way we could be consistent with the confession of our Declaration. It was the only way. And I know he wasn't alone. Now, he was careful in that he did not get into the timing questions with the abolitionists, because there were many people who believed that very same thing, who felt that the faster, the farther, even if it involved violence, that pragmatism was the answer and that it was an abomination that just basically, it didn't matter if you had to blow everything up. Well, that wasn't John Quincy Adams. He didn't see it that way. But his life of diligence and advocacy was a daily, he committed every single day to ending slavery and saving America from a civil war.
It's no coincidence that the book has come out just in time for Christmas in America. So we'll make that connection when we come back. You're listening to The Public Square, online, thepublicsquare.com, where you can go to get a copy of An Oration, thepublicsquare.com. Back with you on the Public Square today as we celebrate the release of An Oration, John Quincy Adams Christian America. This brand new book from the American Policy Roundtable is now available, thepublicsquare.com. Anna, you had such a great hand in producing this book. I know before we took the break, you were about to say something. Now's your turn again.
Thanks, Wayne. I was just going to mention, as we were talking about the issue of slavery, Alan mentions that this speech doesn't shy away from it. You can hear John Quincy's thoughts. And it's 11 years. The speech was done 11 years prior to his death and 24 years prior to the Civil War, if that helps the listener know where we're at in history.
Let me take another quote from his speech in Newburyport, Wayne, that really touches me. The Declaration itself did not even announce the states as sovereign, but as united, free, and independent, and having power to do all acts and things which independent states may of right do. It acknowledged, therefore, a rule of right, paramount to the power of independent states itself, and virtually disclaimed all power to do wrong. This was a novelty in the moral philosophy of nations, and it is the essential point of the difference between the system of government announced in the Declaration of Independence and those systems which had until then prevailed among men. A moral ruler of the universe, the governor and controller of all human power, is the only unlimited sovereign acknowledged by the Declaration of Independence, and it claims for the United States of America, when assuming their equal station among the nations of the earth, only the power to do all that may be done of right. Wow. That's a guy who was there.
And this is also a part of our Declaration 250. I mean, here we are on the cusp of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. What better way to acknowledge that than read a copy of this book?
Well, before we tell people how to get a copy, let me go ahead and talk about the title.
Okay.
All right. The title is an oration. And that was what John Quincy's speech was, an oration to the people of Newburyport. There it was. And I love that, an oration. I just think it was beautiful. Then Dr. Allen suggested a subtitle, John Quincy Adams Christian America. Now, here's how that story unfolds. Two guys, a white guy and a black guy, walk into a bar. And the black guy starts a bar fight. Because the subtitle of this book is going to drive people who are on the alert for Christian nationalism. It's going to drive them nuts. They are going to capture this title. They are going to instantly assail this book.
Yep.
They're going to assail the authors. They are going to go out of their mind saying, here they come, the Christian nationalists, and they are going to just, every single thing you can expect, they'll throw every bit of mud on the wall that you can. There's just one problem. It's John Quincy Adams' speech, not ours. And he was there. And he is bearing testimony of what he saw and what he lived and what he dedicated his life toward. And that's the ideal principles in the Declaration. He's the reporter. He's the eyewitness. He's the public servant. It ain't me talking, and it's not Dr. Allen. It's John Quincy Adams. So if you've got a beef with the idea that some people think that America was founded in harmony with Isaiah 9:6 and the government shall be upon his shoulders, take it up with JQA. He started the fight, not us. Now, I will also tell you in candor before God and all these thousands of witnesses, I was a little nervous about that title. I thought to myself, oh, man, you know, I mean, they're going to go nuts over this. And I thought about it and I prayed about it. I said, well, number one, are you actually going to quibble with one of the world's greatest political philosophers?
That was my question. Did you challenge him on it in any way?
Are you going to? I have his 4-inch thick book translation on Montesquieu and the Spirit of the Laws right at arm's reach, right here. Only 3 people in the human experience have done that. Are you actually going to quibble with your professor, the man who passed you through how many courses that you needed in graduate school? You are going to challenge him on the title?
Don't do it, Dave. Don't do it.
So, well, I thought to myself, well, I've challenged people more powerful. I've challenged presidents. We've challenged United States senators, Supreme Court justices, chief justices. We've challenged a lot of people. And I prayed about it, and I said, the thought came to me as, young man, I don't hear that voice much anymore. Young man, this is a time to listen to your elders. And I will tell you without a doubt, when the book was finished, it makes perfect sense.
Yep. Not shying away from that title. Nope.
Because John Quincy Adams is saying exactly what that title connotes. It's a true testimony to what the book contains because it's his words.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking about this beautiful book, and people are saying, boy, I'm going to have to probably get a second job to be able to afford a copy. And then here comes the biggest surprise. Anna, what does it cost to get a copy of this book?
It is $30 with free shipping.
My goodness.
What
Really?
a
I didn't.
steal.
That's the first time I've heard.
If you want to order 100, we might have to, pay shipping, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
And some people should. If you're an educational institution, you should consider ordering 100.
Wow.
$30 and free shipping.
Yeah.
What?
I can think of a lot of Christian colleges who should have this and should have this as required reading, as a matter of fact.
We need to send them out.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
So did we set the price that low because we were hoping that people will say, oh, what the heck? If it's only $30, I'll take it. No, we are not devaluing this product and this material, this original source document expanded with a beautiful editing work and commentary and art. And Dr. Allen and I basically, we put the speech forward as it is, and then we wrote a commentary explaining how we understand the speech in context. So you're literally going to college in this book, and you're hearing the interpretation in language that is easily understood. So you get a double-fold blessing in this book. So are we diminishing the caliber or the quality of it by putting it out? And by the way, we're talking about $30 for the hardback edition.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. No. What we did was we said, if we can sell the first order out, that'll give us enough money to buy a second order. And if we sell that one out, we'll buy a third. This book will always be at cost because it is so important that we don't want anyone in America to be unable to gain access for themselves and their families. And so that's why it's priced less than a paperback.
That was a big question I had about the proceeds from the book. So it's just going to go right back into more books.
100%. There's absolutely no profit margins in this. Obviously at $30, ain't nobody getting rich.
Well, and I think it's important at this point to talk about the fact that this was not printed. We didn't offshore this and print this in print this in China or something and skimp on that. It's printed in North America. Anna, could you speak to working with the company that actually printed?
Just don't use their name because I don't want other people to find them because they're so valuable and we're going to need about 100,000 more books and I don't want to get bumped in the line. So just say this company.
Well, but you know what? I also don't want them to go out of business. So I want them to be doing amazing.
Okay,
I
you
didn't
can
know
say
there were
who
any
it
printers
is. Go
left in the
ahead.
United States.
this printer is in Canada.
Okay.
And
all right.
I've worked with them for several books now. The Front Steps, Jesus' Story, I believe First as well.
They're still a privately owned company, aren't they, Anna?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe so.
Yeah.
And they've been great to work with. DZ, you told me to go for it in terms of the quality of the book. And I didn't hold back on the selections, and neither did you when we ran by them together.
Rob, it is like a new car, just getting all the upgrades.
Well, and then when I take off the cover, which is gorgeous, the book itself without the cover, can you talk about the binding and it looks like it's stitched. So
it's stitched. It has like a gold foil on the cover and on the spine of the book. And this book is worthy of being beautiful. And the artwork as well is beautiful in it. So I just think it's a nice way to honor the words being written in this book. And that was what my aim was.
Well, I keep mentioning this, but there is a tie to Christmas in America, and we're going to get to it. I promise. It's coming up on the Public Square.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
Well, let's continue talking about a very special project near and dear to our hearts called An Oration, a brand new book just released. Alan, you have some thoughts?
Well, we were talking during the break. I've gotten books that I was very excited to receive and to look at, and the binding has literally fallen off in my hands. But it's not only that the quality's bad, it's also that it often uses what is essentially slave labor to get these printing jobs done.
Yeah, I've actually laid eyes on it. I've actually watched the slave laborers in a Chinese factory.
Well, and so for this book, an oration, for any books that we do from this point forward, but this book in particular is an anti-slavery document. So you can't have slaves making the anti-slavery document. It's just a massive hypocrisy if it is.
Wayne, I've got my. I think I just saw John Quincy Adams wink at Alan. I'll
take it.
Cover photo.
I'll take it.
So let's. Here's what happened. A quote turned into a book. A book turned into an episode of Christmas in America.
Mm-hmm.
And that episode of Christmas in America is launching our Declaration 250 efforts going forward into this wonderful bicentennial, or excuse me, what do we call it now? It is the
Sesquicentennial 250?
Thank you.
Sesquicentennial.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
The sesquicentennial of the Declaration of Independence. What better person to define that event better than the American Policy Roundtable, better than the Atlantic, better than any commission coming from Washington, D.C.? Let's go back to a person who was there, who wrote about it when he was 70 years old, John Quincy Adams. What a testimony and what a privilege. So, Wayne, you've seen the script of Christmas in America. We've already had rehearsals. What do you think?
Yep. I think those who are going to be there in attendance are in for a treat, as are all the radio listeners who will catch up with it eventually before Christmas here on the Public Square.
So we've got a year where we're producing a show where there are dagger types. What do we call those things? Daggerios?
Help, Jeff, help.
Daguerreotypes.
Thank you.
Daguerreotypes. Okay, we've got those. So we got a handful of those. No video, no radio, no Casey Kasem top 100 songs. This could be like the most boring show you've ever seen or heard or witnessed.
No, it's going to be anything but that.
Have you ever been to a Christmas in America thus far that's been boring? That's what I would. That's what I would say.
They're all different.
Good point, Anna.
Yeah.
I like that. But I will challenge you on that. The year 1837, I got to be honest, I don't think of any particular music that we can tie to 1837.
Oh, just wait. We've got the number one hit from the year being performed on stage live. It's going to happen.
All right.
And it's called Woodman, Spare That Tree.
Oh.
Now, there's one I bet you're going to be toe tapping to once you leave. Okay, so we've got that, and we have some other amazing music that's been brought back from the era, and surprisingly, there are songs from 1837 that we know today, and there's even one we'll bring forward that we sing today.
All right, I stand corrected.
DZ, I got a text this morning, speaking of music, from someone who's excited about coming to Christmas in America this year. They missed last year, but their question for me was, will Dennis Parker be there? Because they want to shake his hand and they want to tell him thank you because of how encouraging his testimony has been to them.
Yeah, Dennis will be on stage, God willing. We've got the Jeff Taylor's, getting the band back together. And every year he always will make his first calls based on what he sees coming off the script of the best musicians in the Music City. And Jeff is a legend here in this town. He's not only worked with everybody, we're blessed to have him as our musical director. And he has picked the voices, he's picked the instrumentation, and he has put on his scholarship hat as well and gone back and helped us find some of this music and recreate some of this music from libraries in Yale University and other places. So we've got some old music that'll be just fascinating to listen to, but we've got some really fun twists on this. Great show for kids, great show for history, and of course, great place to release the actual text of an oration. Now, if we sell out the first order by Christmas, it's okay. It would be the first time we've ever done that. And I can tell you, Wayne, that we don't know what'll happen. We don't know. We don't judge the fruit of any project based upon how many people order it. Because these books we're at this for another generation or two. So we've got a long-term focus. But it was interesting. We talked about this for 90 seconds this morning on your morning show with Michael Del Giorno. And we had in I think 4 minutes, we had 4 orders for 9 books.
From all across the country.
From 4 different states, across the country. So my guess is people are going to like this. They're going to be interested in it. So I think we're going to have a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful experience. So it's extraordinary to get to Christmas in America. Now, there's a show in Nashville. There's a show in Medina, Ohio, which is Northeast Ohio. What we found is that some people drive all night to come to one of these shows because they're all unique. They're performed one time. They're not repeated. So here you are. I mean, you get one shot. And they feel led to do that. And we are always so thankful when people do that. People will, on average, drive up to 2 hours to come to the show. And obviously you say, well, why don't you do more? Because there's only so much time to be able to do this. And there's only so much budget. But that's why we then, if you can't get there, because the crowds are for recording purposes, we stop in that 600 zone in regards to the actual people on the property, because you've got a sound product you're producing, so you can only go so big. So there's still probably a few seats left by the time you hear this, and you can go to thepublicsquare.com and get tickets. Just look for events, and you'll see it there. It's a show that's good for school-age kids and up. Okay, handheld little ones, not, in arms, probably not. But kids that once they start getting into the 3rd, 4th grade, where they're starting to get a little bit of history, can be very fascinating. There's always an element that does incorporate Kids on the Square in the show. So those would be a part of that too. It's a beautiful family event. I'll tell you this much. In all the years we've done it, this is our 15th episode. Nobody's ever asked for a refund.
No.
Now, we wouldn't give it anyways because there's a disclaimer on the ticket that says no refunds. But I mean, nobody's ever asked. Okay. But the tickets are, if an average family of 5 can get into the show for $100. In the Music City, this show would be $150 a ticket to get in the door.
Sure.
I made a prediction to someone the other day, and I know everyone throughout our network that's been to Christmas in America, or even listened on the radio, they have their favorite. But I have a feeling this one's going to jump to the top of the list of many. 1837. And I think that's going to surprise people how much they are going to enjoy.
Well, it's that Woodman song. There's no question about it. Woodman Spare the Axe. What was the title of that song?
Woodman Spare That Tree. Yeah.
Spare That Tree. Oh, okay.
It's a toe tapper.
An early environmental song. Yeah.
I'm telling you, once you get it in your head, it'll be an earworm. You'll be humming it, and kids will think you're really impressive. Okay.
Thanks for the warning.
A couple of thoughts in moving forward on this. How can people help? Well, obviously, if you'd like to come to the show, hurry, get a ticket. We'd love to see you. We would very much love to see you come. Secondly, make sure that you listen throughout the holiday season. In fact, you can start right now on the other 14 episodes. Go to thepublicsquare.com. You can listen the whole season to 14 episodes of this beautiful concept of finding the major in a different year in history, and they are all unique and remarkable. You'll enjoy these shows immensely. So you can listen and you can tell others. Now, the other thing is, you're probably going to think, well, give money. Yeah, we'll get there. But before that, would you pray for us? Because this is a spiritual adventure. And as such, there is peril involved. And we would be very, very grateful for your prayers, for protection, for travel, and for everyone that attends, that God will create open hearts, and everyone who listens, open ears. And then finally, if you want to help support this financially, you can tell we could use the dough. We're giving a book away at cost. We're giving tickets away at cost. Obviously, if people don't underwrite this stuff, we're cooked. And for 15 years, people have come up and said, hey, if you guys are willing to put that much into this game, how can I help? And every dollar is a big deal. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you all very much. We're so excited about this new book, and we wanted you to know about it, and we had the chance to talk about it today, so we said, why not? Let's get it out in front of our audience. So there you have it, An Oration. To follow up, go to thepublicsquare.com. You'll find all the details there, thepublicsquare.com. Hey, team, thank you. We'll see you all soon on The Public Square.
The Public Square is a broadcast service of the American Policy Roundtable.